There are so many people who walk on the brink of disaster, thus putting their health and even their life at risk by undertaking extreme strains and using dangerous and forbidden substances in order to be the winners, at least once in their life. There are the others too. There are those modest people who, in their privacy and silence and the unity with the nature, work on their own mental hygiene. They have only one aim, to keep their body and soul vital. By respecting their body and soul more than any awards on certificates, such people respect life above all. However, life does not deal the same cards to everyone. It is sometimes necessary to have strong will and great strength, beside determination, to win and overcome the barriers set up by the life and circumstances in front of certain people. We introduce you a man who lives a life at full speed with just 5% of sight on one eye, in contrast to those whose physical sight on their environment is much broader, and he does that with the motto, "When there is the will, there is the way." He overcame all the barriers in his early childhood. He learned to live with his condition and dedicated himself to developing other senses and working on his spiritual being so as to be able to share his knowledge about the beauties of life with his environment, regardless the circumstances. He does that every way, intensely. A wise man said long time ago, "The fastest run a sprint, the best run a marathon." We introduce you Goran Nikolic. He is a marathon runner and a tandem bicyclist with a poor sight due to congenital incurable defect. As opposing to the visual experience of the people with the full sight, his experience looks like this, but only in the daylight. This is how it looks like under the lights during the night. And this is the way the things are like in the absence of the source of any light. However, it is in those hours when even the people with full sight find it difficult to manage that his athletic activities are the most intense, because then, and he says, making a joke, nobody disturbs him. He is alone with the nature and he feels it with all of his senses. Almost every day for the last 20 years, the time during which he has kept his own sports calendar, he has had the habit of running 22 kilometers, that is also a half marathon. Just to remind you, marathon and half marathon are among those rare sports disciplines in which every participant who finishes the race in a limited time gets a medal and gains the status of a marathon runner or a half marathon runner. You can count now how many medals Goran put around his own neck, these being his favorite ones, by writing down his daily athletic activity into his sports calendar. A very interesting fact is that by measuring up the total length of how many kilometers he had run during 2 decades of his intense running, he made a calculation that he had run around the planet Earth twice, taking both the equator and the Greenwich into consideration. There are in total 42,195 kilometers in 29 successful sections behind this marathon runner. All the marathons that he had started, he finished successfully. Running without any particular preparation, his personal record is 3 hours, 18 minutes and 21 seconds. Whereas his weakest time are far from the limited ones, even the most severe weather conditions when he ran 10 full marathons in 10 consecutive days in minus 25 degrees from Kragujevac, Serbia to Mostar, Bosnia and Herzegovina. This event was institutionally supported by the partner cities of Kragujevac and Mostar, the Sports Association of the City of Mostar, the Embassy of Bosnia and Herzegovina in Serbia, as well as the Center for the Blind and the Poor-Sighted Children and Young People in Sarajevo, which considered it to be extremely positive in terms of promoting creative and sports potential of the blind and the poor-sighted in this region and around it. Goran is now preparing to set a new Guinness record in the number of consecutive marathons, which is now 53 marathons run in 53 days. He's going to run 55 marathons in 55 days, from Kragujevac, Serbia to Oslo, Norway, but with the motives that are totally different, deeply convinced he will succeed in carrying them out. Why? According to the data of the World Health Organization, in peaceful times, people with disabilities make 10% of total populations, and that percentage is a standard. In the countries which go through the post-war period, this number increases to 15%, due to increased risk of the population to get into physical contact with the remains of the explosive war materials in the period of 30 years after the end of war. In Serbia, this population comes to 16%, and it keeps increasing because of the social illnesses caused by economic crisis in the past decades. Apart from the high level of understanding, the institutions are often unable to financially support the increasing needs of the people with disabilities in the fields of sport in the measure that provides their participation and getting expensive equipment, facilities and aids, providing a necessary number of assistant companions for those who are highly ambitious to achieve best sports results. Neither Goran, with the experience of a long-standing sports worker, nor the organization proud of a number of successfully realized projects, can see better days in these fields in the close future. Not to mention that this is a period of reduced donation for the financing of infrastructure. Nevertheless, there is the solution. It is just up to choosing and focusing on that what you believe most. He took responsibility. He will share his great love, as defined by his friends, and sports enthusiasm with the public, and put it into the function of creating better conditions for the blind and the poor-sighted to go in for sport. Using the strength of his muscles, the capacity of his lungs and his strong will, he will try to set the new Guinness record in the number of full marathons by running every day. But no, officially, it is the attempt, but he does not accept the term. He will succeed in doing it because it is his decision, just one of many more he brings every day when he starts running. But that is the one which can change the lives of many people with disabilities. And not just that, he is convinced that he will finish his marathon on the 55th day as fresh as when he had started it, because he wants to promote running as a healthy way of life. The purpose of this transparent undertaking, which is to be verified by the Guinness arbiter, is a public call for institutions, financial organizations, companies and foundations to support, through sponsorships and donations, the realization of a project Junior, referring to building and providing equipment for minicamps in Serbia, 1 or 2 to start with. Final aim is the implementation of the increasing number of primarily children and young people with congenital or acquired disabilities into the process of rehabilitation, resocialization and practice of a talented ones. Being sure of running 55 marathons in 55 days, to the questions as to what will happen if there are no donations and sponsorships and the expectations are still fulfilled, he says, "In any case, it is certain that there will be no disappointments. Something must be changed. My team and I did our best, and we will be satisfied because we gave our contribution to the motivation of the public to choose healthy lifestyles. If a poor-sighted man can do it, everybody can do it without any right to the excuse that he cannot walk at least few kilometers every day. And we have the expected financial support. I will rephrase Archimedes, give us a tool."